Welcome to Written by Her, a special series of Dream by Design with Melissa Banks. I'm your host, Melissa Banks, and I'm excited you decided to join us today. I believe every woman has a story of courage, a story of faith, a story of resilience, a story that deserves to be told. On this series, we sit down with incredible women authors who dare to put their experiences, their wisdom, and dreams on paper. We go beyond the pages and into the journey, the challenges they faced, the lessons they learned, and the moments that almost made them quit, and the courage it took to keep going. Because every book begins with a dream, but every author has a story behind the story. So, whether you're an aspiring author, an entrepreneur, a dreamer, or a woman navigating her own journey, my prayer is that these conversations will inspire you, will empower you, and move you to action. This is Written by Her, where women share their stories, their voices, and their purpose. So let's get started with today's show. Our guest today is Dr. Anissa Short. Dr. Short is an international best-selling author, speaker, business strategist, and her book is Why I Said Yes. I'm excited to talk to her about that. Welcome to the show, Dr. Short.
Hey, Melissa. Thank you so much for another opportunity to be in this space with you.
I'm excited to talk to you, particularly about your author journey. I know you do a whole lot of other stuff. I am excited to talk to you about the journey to the book. You know, what inspired you with the book, Why I Said Yes? Why was this the time to put it on paper?
I had for years people saying to me that I should write a book about how my husband and I met, our how we met and our journey because we had a long distance relationship. And friends of mine who knew some of the back behind the scenes, as things were evolving. And then of course we've been married now for 28 years. And while I appreciated the fact that people thought that our story was, publishing, book worthy, I didn't want to just write a book just for the sake of telling the story. I kept vacillating about what should I tell the story just, you know, directly? Should I reinvent it and make it a novel and share it from that perspective, or how should I do this? And I became very stagnant with the best route to go. So as we approached our 28th anniversary, I told my husband, I said, I'm going to write a book about why I said yes to be married to you. And he just looked at me and I said, I'm going to share snippets from our courtship, but I'm not so I am telling parts of our story, but I'm also sharing it because I know many women, or I've observed, especially in the social media space, women talking about wanting to be married, thought they found the right one. He wasn't the right one. They say things like dating sucks and it's just not what I think. And men are so, indecisive or, just a lot of buzz about relationships, and especially those who really desire to be married. So I said, well, maybe I owe them. Maybe I owe them this book because why I married Alfonso had nothing to do with his job or his charisma or his looks, although those play a point. There were other things that I value that led to my yes. So while I am sharing my story, I'm sharing characteristics of the ideal mate, I believe. In addition to that, I'm also sharing with the men who desire to be married what they need to do to truly win her heart. At least what it took to win mine, anyway.
Yeah, I love that. Love that. You know, as a event planner, I be with couples at the height. You know, I see. One time, I was doing 90% of my business were weddings, so I got to see the young couples and the older couples and the difference of the interaction that they have with each other. And
Yeah.
now I get to see even single people who want to be married, or single people like me that don't want any part of it. But it's interesting. Both sides are interesting, and both need to hear from people. If you want to do it, hear from somebody. 28 years is a lot to be proud of. And then you started out long distance, which, people look at you long distance. You know how people look at you when it's long distance.
Yeah, I like probably the same way I looked at him when he said something about. I was like, please, no.
Exactly. Exactly. So thank you for sharing that with us. when you got ready to become a published author, I know you have several books in addition to this one, but talk to us a little bit about just the challenge of becoming a published author in the first place. Share with us a challenge that you had to just overcome to keep going.
Well, my initial book, the very first book that kicked everything off, had to do with me serving the community for which I work with, which were women in business, entrepreneurial space, specifically those in the home-based business industry. I wish I could say that writing that book was a challenge. It wasn't, because much of what I shared in that book, I had been teaching and sharing for years. It wasn't anything foreign to me. I literally sat down and just wrote it out, because much of what was contained in that book, I had shared over and over and over and over again. What I did find, however, interesting was when it came time to actually publish it. Should I self publish? Should I go with a traditional publisher? And the pros and cons of both. I knew that I probably could, I was, astute enough to figure out how to self publish, but did I want to invest that time that it takes to do it, and not just to get it done, but to do it the right way? And
Mhm.
what was the right way, because I wasn't familiar with the industry. And at the same time, I knew a traditional publisher would probably do everything the right way, but did I want to invest that much money and then allow them to have ownership rights of what I worked so hard for? So, I went back and forth. Those were the answers or the questions I had in my mind, which would have held me back if it were not for the fortunate opportunity of meeting Dr. Norma, who at the time I did not know had a publishing company, but she was a hybrid, which means basically she's the best of both worlds. She would do what the self publisher would do for you, but not own your book and not charge you a lot of money to get it done.
Mhm.
And so I think a lot of people, I don't think I know, as a result of being in this publishing space, many of the authors vacillate just like I did. Which way should I go? I don't know what I'm doing. Who can I trust? What keeps me from getting the book published when I know I've got the content? I don't know where to go next, and whose voice I should listen to. So that's one of the motivational reasons for me, as now the director of a publishing house hybrid company, is to make sure that I not only provide the assistance authors need and desire, but also create an atmosphere where they're learning the process, so they feel better about how their book is being handled, and they are even more excited about the completion of it, because they were a participating part of the whole process.
I love that, and it's fun. And this, I just had a conversation with an author, a new author who is in that same place, trying to
Hmm.
decide. I want to self-publish it because I want to make sure I don't lose any of my book. And
Yeah,
then it's so much work on that side, and just that same conversation you just
yeah,
shared, she
it's
shared
common.
as well. Uh, in my author journey, which is a short journey, of course, but I was fortunate that I had already met Cyrus Webb, who uh,
Right.
who could help with that process. So that part wasn't the big struggle for me. But Anissa, did you struggle even with this book? Why I said yes. Okay, you put some personal things down on there, some personal things that y'all went through. Was it ever? Did you ever doubt putting it down and making it public where people could see it?
I
Um,
didn't.
you did not.
I did not. I'm just, maybe I'm weird like that. Every book that I've ever written, and all of the books that I've been a part of or curated, some of them were anthologies as well. But because and I think this because of the way I'm wired, I'm totally convinced that I'm to serve the female population with what I do, whether that to be, to help them publish their book, or to be a coach of some sort, to be their cheerleader, right? So when it has come time for me to write the books that I was um, encouraged to write, or felt it was time to write, there was no reservation, because I felt like there was a need. Even in doing the book that I just finished, why I said yes, it was not just writing a book. There was a greater purpose behind it, and because I was intentional about staying true to the purpose, it I wasn't there was no doubt about getting it done.
Oh wow, I think that's wonderful because I think that's wonderful because you had the confidence of knowing this was the moment and this was the time to put it out. So many times women um, start the self doubt conversation in the process, is why they sometimes don't deliver everything that they need to. So I
That's
think that's
true.
absolutely wonderful. Let me
Yeah, a
say,
lot of women, yeah, confidence is, I don't know, maybe I'm too confident, I don't know, but I do realize that confidence is a determining factor when it comes to, it's not that women are not gifted and talented and have the ability, but they don't have the confidence needed to push forward. I've had so many things to go wrong. I just know if my thing is, if it's either going to work or it's not going to work. People are going to benefit from it or not going to benefit from it. I don't even think about that as much as I know that I'm purposed to do this, so I need to get it done.
oh, that's awesome. Love that. Let me reset Anissa. Thank you for joining Written by Her. We're excited to have you. Our guest today is Dr. Anissa Short. Dr. Short is an international best-selling author, speaker, and brand strategist. Okay, let's talk about why I said yes. What is it that you hope, Anissa? You know, I got to get used to saying Dr. Anissa. I'm going to tell
You
you.
can call me Anissa. That's fine. I answer. That's what my mama named me. I'm not hung up on the title. That's true.
What message or lesson do you hope your readers will carry with them after they finish reading Why I Said Yes?
For the woman who desires to be married and was in a long-term relationship and it didn't work out and they feeling devastated and they feel like it's a failure and they feel like they lost time, yada yada yada, I want them to read my book and say, okay, I wasn't crazy. He wasn't worthy of me. You know what I mean? My standard was high and it needs to stay high. That's what I want that person to understand. If they're young and still living life and they have this grandiose dream of meeting the man on the knight and shine, their knight in shining armor that's gonna come right in and everything is gonna be happily ever after. I want them to understand that that's the movies, it's not real life, and that and I want them to be equipped with the tools that they need for their toolbox. So as they begin to take that journey of looking for or becoming available for someone and looking to become a spouse, that they have something more solid to base their decisions on other than what he drives, what he wears, where he lives and where he took me out to eat, that type of thing. And for the young man who says that at some point in time, my husband says men don't sit around and think about marriage like women do. For the young man who decides that he would love a life companion and a wife or what have you, and just kind of clueless because he doesn't know who to talk to. He hears the stereotypes of what the men say in the barbershop and he hasn't bought into that, but he needs a blueprint. Then I believe this book will serve as a blueprint for him as well.
Oh, awesome. I love that. Yeah, Anissa, talk to us about how writing this book may have changed you as the author, because I'm in the process of writing my memoir and I'm finding myself going through some changes within myself as I'm telling that story. So, share with us ways that maybe it changed you while you were in the process of telling this story.
The biggest thing for me, Melissa, at the inception of this book and even in getting it done, is that I didn't want anyone to feel as though I was being braggadocious, as if to say that my marriage is just perfect and our relationship was just, is the one that everyone should desire, because that was not my intent. My intent was really to provide practical nuggets and then give some 4 examples from my own life. So there was a little bit of vulnerability in there, a little bit of insecurity in the sense that I wanted to convey the message with the intent that I started it out, but also being mindful of the fact that I didn't want to sound too over the top, because I know every relationship is different. Every male female situation, how people meet are different, personalities different. I understand all of that. So I don't want anyone to misconstrue my writing the book as if to say that this is the perfect situation and if you don't do it this way and if you don't look at that type of thing. I just want them to take it as, Auntie Anissa is giving us some advice. And here's what I believe you should add, that you should consider as the more weightier things to consider when you look into establish a relationship with someone.
Love that. So we have women watching and hearing your story, hearing your talk, feeling your energy. Um, but they have a book and they have a story that they want to tell, but they haven't been able to get started yet. So, what would you have to say to them to encourage them to move forward today?
I would say just sit down and start writing. And not just aimlessly though. Think about the why behind the story. Think about who it is you want this book to benefit, who's your target market, How do you want them to receive your book? What is the message that you want to convey to them? And then maybe even outline if it's a novel or if it's a memoir of some sort and you're going to have chapters, then you want to decide, what each chapter is going to focus on. That'll help you with your writing. And then you get your storyline together and then find someone that you trust who knows a little bit of something about reading books to give you their honest feedback about the content, and not necessarily your best friend or your sister. If they're not an avid reader, I really believe that avid readers will give you honest feedback because they read a lot anyway, and they will give you their honest opinion. And then, if necessary, find a writing coach, someone else that can help you with the evolution of the story, because we know our stories. We can regurgitate our stories. We could tell you where we were and what that day was like. But sometimes when we feel the emotion of our stories, but sometimes we don't know how to convey it in writing. And so a writing coach will help you with that as well. I would start there first, and then the writing coach might be attached to a publishing house. If not, then you can find someone like Chosen Pen Group that can assist you or getting everything published.
I love it. I love it. One of the things that I have found in my memoir that I'm writing, not in the other books, but in this one, is I am working with someone to help with the writing, not to tell my story, but sometimes you do need that professional, that person that's not involved in the story, so they can see clearly, and
Right.
then they can help you make sense of all the pieces. Because if I
Yes.
just put it out there like it is in my head, it's just gonna be a hot mess. So you need somebody to help you. People like you, of course. So what's next for Dr. Anissa Short? What can we look forward to?
Well, I have my new podcast platform, Amplified. I'm super excited about extending my guest base to people that are creatives and entertainers and things of that nature. This month, well, not this month because it's July. The month of June was a big boom for me because I had the opportunity of interviewing the likes of Simone Green out of Chicago, who's an awesome songstress. Bobby Washington, an R&B, independent artist. Jennifer Holiday, as well as Eric LaSalle. So that's new for me. I've been talking for a while, Melissa. You know that. So having a conversation has never been hard. But for doors to have opened that would allow me to meet people that I've never imagined meeting is a plus. So to do that work and to streamline everything that I'm doing, and to do it with even more intention and excellence, a spirit of excellence. What can I tweak? Like, do I need to get props in my background, like flowers and pictures and stuff like you, Melissa? So every time we go live, I look like I'm in a floral shop or something, or is my background okay? Just a chest and what have you. Little things like that. I want to next level everything. I didn't have to be anything grandiose, but definitely want to make sure that the opportunities I'm taking full advantage of the opportunities that have been extended to me by working in a spirit of excellence and not being satisfied with the status quo. So there's nothing really new. We're still into the publishing. We're doing the podcasting. I'm helping others get their books published, that type of thing. But and life is good. And then of course I am my husband's awesome wife, so I can't throw that in.
Well, of course. And
Of course.
I do see that book back there on that shelf behind you. It just
Yes.
happened to be there. So
Just
I
happened.
think you're doing great. But let everybody know how they can stay connected and support what you do.
They can find me on social media, Dr. Anissa Short, on LinkedIn as well as Facebook. Both of those platforms work just perfectly fine. Everything that I do is posted in both locations. I'm also on Instagram. Dr. Anissa C Short is where I am on Instagram.
Awesome. It's always a great talking to you. I love your energy and your confidence and how calmly you move through everything. This has been amazing. I always enjoy. So thank you
But
for
thank
being here.
you. Thank you, Melissa. I appreciate you. I really do.
Thank you. What an inspiring conversation. A special thank you to our guest, Dr. Anissa Short, for sharing her journey, her voice, and the story behind the story. Thank you to our audience for joining us for this edition of Written by Her, a special series of Dream by Design with Melissa Banks. My hope is that today's conversation reminds you that your story matters, your voice matters, and your next chapter is still waiting to be written. This is your host, Melissa Banks, saying keep writing, keep believing, and keep dreaming.